right now. We're going to get into the login information and what that means. But I want to start it off by welcoming you back to the We Are One podcast. This is Ola Wolny. She is the Matrix Slayer. She is someone who's experiencing and bringing the message of her feminine line to the world. So the story that is out there, she's going to tell it the best way that she can. So Ola, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me back, and I'm really thrilled to dive in again together.
We have a lot of questions from people who have watched not only the We Are One podcast, but also other podcasts that you've been on. I have a few questions and things that you've mentioned over there that I think people would like to have cleared up a little bit. But for the most part, I think people really enjoy listening to you. They resonate with your message, and it's one of empowerment for the feminine line and for women in general. And so thank you for your perspective and your story. And I hope I will talk a little less in this interview than the other ones and let you get your story out and your perspective.
I feel that that's always the case, but thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get into it because I want people to start off right away with some of the
Sure.
craziness. The last time we talked was in 2023 in June, and you have gone on some recent quests. Can you tell us about what your journey has been with some of your trips?
So what I've been feeling that's guided to do is to start opening up the region where I live, this place where I live, to everybody else, because it's been extremely transformational for me personally. I've been living up here in the north for 7 going on 8 years now, and it's you see, I came here in a sort of still being in a bit of a different place than I am now, and there's obviously an element of journey here in that time, and the region, the place, the energy of this place plays a pivotal and amazing, strong role within that process for me, and I've been guided to open that up to other people, to give that possibility to experience this also in a context of the legends, of the fairy tales, of the stories. This region is absolutely amazing. There is obviously a lot of Viking stories here. There is a lot of Norse mythology that sort of unveils this place, and I always call this place that this is a place where the veil is very thin, and we are kind of walking between worlds. And you absolutely feel that when you come here. So the region I'm talking about, Arctic Norway, Lofoten, that's what it's called. And to date, I held 2 events, one in June and one in November. And one in Poland, but that's a slightly different one. These were 1 week long. I had very, very nice groups. I think the size was just about right. And we went on a sort of journey. We went on a quest throughout the week. Discovering in June that was ladies only, so very, very strong focus on the feminine alchemy and specifically teachings for the women. And in November I've opened up to men as well, so we had a mixed group, and we've explored always in the context of those feminine teachings. But you see, you need to kind of I think I need to lay a certain foundation here, that feminine alchemy, this is pretty much the fundamentals of every single culture in terms of a prehistoric context. These are the fundamentals of every single culture in the world. So this is our heritage. This is our legacy as humans, regardless of where we are now, where we are geographically. So when I talk about feminine alchemy, this is not in a context of any sort of feministic teachings or anything that's specifically purely referring to women. this is a teaching for everybody. It's a teaching taking us back to our roots. Feminine alchemy is where shamanism emerged from, and shamanism is 100,000 years old, as you can trace it back in sort of many different cultures. So feminine alchemy is where I take you on a quest, on a journey. This is all wrapped into the context of the local legends, the Norse mythology naturally. Why? Because just like the other mythologies, it is not a fable, it is not a tale, it is the true account of certain events which happened in the past, and also beautifully touches on a lot of spiritual powers, spiritual abilities, and that spiritual context that we as people have had, and lots of it has been erased, forgotten. So this is really a journey back in time. This is a journey back to our roots, back to our essence, and both of those events were extremely powerful. There are certain things that obviously in the context of the ladies that were in June, we were not in any way limited by the weather, and we had the midnight sun, so 24/7 sunlight. We were able to do quite a lot out in the nature, and you know, one of the things about this region is that the energy, the energy centers, which are depicted even in the local stories, in legends, they have an amazing energy. Literally, this is a transformational energy. You do not need any healing. You do not need any sort of psychotherapy. You just need to come here and experience that. A lot of things will sort of show up and come up, but at the end of it, there's obviously a massive transformation for anybody who experiences that. So the journey becomes a bit of a mix of seeing certain things in that kind of context, plus a very much a personal journey and a sort of personal transformation. So that's June and November. I you know, people were a bit afraid of November because they think, oh my God, this is the winter in the Arctic. Absolutely cold. You know, the winter in the Arctic really hits around December, and the biggest snows and the sort of lowest temperatures we don't get until probably January, February, March. So November is not quite yet the scariest time of the winter, so it's absolutely doable. It's probably before the snow comes, so we didn't really have snow, or not that much. It was kind of slightly dusted here and there, but we did have northern lights, and we had northern lights for about 4 days out of 7. Clear blue skies, amazing experience. Of course, you know, this is the time when we are losing light. So we had about 5-6 hours of daylight only. So there was a lot of sort of hibernation element, if you like, to that event specifically. But it was extremely powerful. There's something about the winter in the Arctic and that hibernation theme, and that kind of hibernation energy where you withdraw. The event in November was about journey to the underworld. So specifically, there is a sort of context of Ragnarok, end of the world, and return of the Titans. So that was a very powerful event, and I had people who actually returned. So I had 2 ladies who brought their husbands and returned after being with me in June. They returned for my event again in November, this time with the husbands, and I've been asked to repeat the event for them in June again for that whole group. So I can promise you that something happens, that people fall in love with this place and with the experiences. And I'm not kidding you. There are people from that group who are moving to this region from America. Wow. And another couple also considers this. Another couple is from Europe. So I kid you not, it's amazing. I wasn't even expecting that.
So how did the sacrifices go on the husbands? I'm just kidding. The sacrifices.
Well,
you said they brought their husbands back, and you sacrificed. No, you didn't say that. I'm just kidding. So that's amazing. There's no doubt that the area is probably phenomenal and one of a kind. What were some of the things that you were looking at personally, and what are some of the things that you can tell people about what you experienced, either from your own journey, from your own point of view? What were you expecting, and what actually took place?
So you see, when I sort of greeted people, especially in the November event, I made it very clear that I am not your host. I am not the host of these events. I know it sounds a bit contradictory, but I saw that very clearly after June, that there is something that takes over. And literally what takes over are the spirits of the land. When I say that we are walking between worlds, I mean it. I have been to a lot of places with a lot of marketing in terms of being energy centers, Bali, or I don't even want to mention and maybe upset someone, but I've been to many places and I have not experienced this kind of energy like I experience here. So there is definitely an element of some kind of supernatural force taking over, and really that is the host of those events. I'm just a guide. I just become the person to kind of look after the logistics and maybe tell a story here and there, which of course, that, to be fair, that happens a lot. But in terms of the transformational aspect, that alchemical aspect, that doesn't come. I cannot take the credit for that. So what I always like to do is to expose people to a totally different perspective. Is to let them, because you see, I can sit in an interview and I can sort of talk to you, and it's a little bit blurry. Nobody really understands what is it exactly that she's describing. I probably cannot explain it very well. You have to feel it. You have to come and experience the feeling. You have to come on the journeys. I've led the group through, the closest we can probably call it shamanic journeys, although I don't really consider them exactly shamanic journeys. And there's been an immense amount of transformation behind that. I don't want you to think about it specifically in a context of shamanic journeys, because probably a lot of people might have been exposed to that or heard about it. These are the alchemical journeys. These are the original journeys that women would have been participating in. Women would have been taking men on. These are the journeys. These are the critical journeys as part of sort of untying ourselves from the matrix, because you see, there are things that have been done to us in this construct, in terms of obviously the sort of the programming, that the frequencies that are being streaming on us, the third eye being entangled into this network, this whole net. That's what it is. It's a net. The soul has been caught. Right, the Pisces catches. The Pope being the fisher of men, so the souls are being caught in the net. So the feminine alchemy, the original teachings, explain exactly what kind of journey to take to be able to disconnect from that. So yeah, there are journeys to the moon. I have not done that journey yet. I am planning to do that journey in June. Obviously, nobody's going to be going anywhere in any spacecraft. That happens in a totally different way. I've taken the group to the underworld in November, and we have done also certain journeys with the ladies in June. We have spend a lot of, much more time out in the nature at certain sites, at certain energy centers. and spend time out there, not just sort of visit and go. So it's a little bit different. And of course, it's a little bit different when there is a mixed group. There was an element specifically for the men, because, you know, men and women, we are all caught into this matrix. We are just little puppets in that game. So there is a certain way that certain things that's been done with the men, and there are certain things that have been done with women on that programming sort of level, on that in a matrix sense. We may say that there's been certain codes that's been put into our DNA, or certain parts of our DNA blocked in order to facilitate certain behaviors from us, such as dominance and aggression in men and subservience in women. So we, you know, that is written so deeply into us, and you know that because in the Bible, right, when Yahweh sends Adam and Eve out of Eden, he says specifically to her that she will be subservient to the man and he will rule over her. So that is an allegory, that there's a message there, which is literally that has been done at a much deeper level to us. So there is a bit of a journey here to untie certain things that have been done. And you see, we have totally lost contact and awareness what cycles across the year, what do they really mean? What, you know, we think about them in a context of maybe farming, but there is so much more to them. There are certain things linked to you know, the Halloween. Well, it's not exactly Halloween, it would have been Samhain, right? So the Celtic Samhain. It would have been the equinoxes, it would have been the solstices. There are certain things that happens. It's 8 of those kind of pretty critical dates that back in a day, within those teachings, men and women knew exactly what these dates represented and what kind of context would have been practiced at the time in communion with the, well, with exactly with what communion with what. That's where we're kind of getting to that more a supernatural side of things, not with spirits per se. It was because it's us that have a lot of powers, which is obviously we've forgotten that long time ago. So as we go through the year, things would have been done to rebuild certain connections, to destroy certain mechanisms and elements that would have been trapping us. And of course, those keep being renewed, right? Because Matrix is constantly trying to kind of pull you back in. So that becomes pretty much like an annual almost cycle. But we have been totally disconnected from that. So that is also something that I take people through on the events.
That's great. You mentioned 2 things that I want to hit on. We'll go one at a time, I guess. The first thing is, you know, thinning of the veil and the alchemy, the transformation of unplugging, I guess, or getting out of that. Is the first step to do not consent? Is the consent the first thing that the Matrix needs, or is that not really relevant to disconnecting the veil?
You mean, does the Matrix need our consent to be in the Matrix, or?
Yes. I mean, is the first stage of getting out, is the first stage to obviously to realize that it is a trick. So do they need consent? I guess is another way to put it.
So we don't need to inform anybody about our plans, and you know, there is nobody to sign off on us leaving the Matrix. Okay, Matrix is a construct tied to the mind. That's why it's called mind control. That's why those frequencies are streamed onto our third eye. So there is sort of no element of anybody needing to be informed or anybody needing to give us consent. However, the issue is, you see, because we can be sitting here and complaining about the Anunnaki or the reptilians and the Draco and the construct, and all of it having this power over us and enslaving us, and this is so unfair and this is so horrible, and we can be blaming them. Whereas when you actually look a little bit deeper into that, yes, they've put certain things in place and they've been very cunning about it. They've been very, very smart about it, because that's all they have. They have a very high level of intelligence, that kind of intellectual intelligence, and they have a very, very advanced technology, but that's where it ends. The issue is that we allow them to do it to us, and we continue to participate. This is the issue. So when you talk about leaving the matrix, you have to ask yourself, but what does that mean? Well, it means literally, once upon a time, the women would say, cut your head off. And of course, this is not literal, right? It's a bit symbolic, but it literally means that, think about it, how much in the head, in the mind we are all the time, in the mind, in the head. There is the element of us constantly needing to think and search, and we get engaged and involved into all these kind of things that are right now all over the internet. People thinking that they are discovering something, or that they are very awakened because they know about this, they know about that. You're just taking bait on more and more of that kind of distraction, but not focusing on where we should be focusing. Another thing, I'm sorry if I'm gonna upset someone, but religions, any religion, doesn't matter which religion, behind every single religion there is an archon, right? And most of the time it's the same one. Whether you call them the Anunnaki, the Gnostic archons, whether you call them the gods of Norse mythology, whoever, these are the archons. These are the same entities, and they are sitting behind religion. So I'm sorry, but the gods of the Christianity, the god of the other religions, it's the same archon. So when you are kneeling to the archon and asking for their will to come upon you, you are giving away your power. So there is, I'm sorry, but you are literally adding energy to this construct to continue to have power over you. So you see, everybody is sort of jumping on this bandwagon of leaving the matrix without really understanding that the matrix has the hooks in you through your own programming, through your own.
Are those archons that you're mentioning, are they self-governing, or are they actual entities that are active in the way that they are streaming programs? Because I think there's two ways to look at it, in my opinion. At least while you were speaking, I thought of two different things. Are they actual programs of the matrix, the archons, and of religion, or are they actual entities that are able to manipulate and change the programming as we go, in your opinion?
They are actual entities. They are beings. I wouldn't say they are even entities. They use very high technology, and they sort of have a lot of supernatural tricks and powers, which they use to create certain sort of energy settings and what not, right, in this construct. But them themselves, they are beings, they are parasites. What they have done here, this is not the first rodeo, okay? If you read through the ancient text, if you go back to the tablets, they say very clearly that this is not the first rodeo, okay? They try to do it in mythology. Look at mythology, right? They try to go after, or they did go after other constellations and other sort of star systems and planets, not just the Earth. The Earth is pretty special, which is sort of all another story. But this is not their first rodeo. And the funny thing is that they keep repeating the same scenario everywhere they go, and it always goes the same way. But because they are so disconnected from that soul element, they are so disconnected from any emotional intelligence religions, that it's like there's no learning, there's no evolution there. So they keep, it's a one-trick pony. They keep doing the same thing regardless of where they go. And right now they are here, but hopefully we will have time to mention that we are living in the end times. We are living in Ragnarok, or the apocalypse times, and this has been proven. This is not my opinion. And so what does that mean? Well, that literally means the end of their reign. So the plug has been pulled on this system above us, but it continues to have an effect, right? It continues to kind of keep hold. And you might be asking why, which is a very good question. And the answer is because of us, because of people who continue to, like the batteries, continue to supply energy to it, continue with their religions, continue to kneel in front of the priests and other demonic forces, continue to believe in some kind of god, which is Archon, continue to even beyond that. Okay, even if we leave that, all of us still probably have some kind of level of programming, some kind of level of conditioning, even if we think that this is a positive thing, even if we think that it serves us. Whenever there is an element of determinism over us, if there is any level of us sort of believing that things needs to be like this because that's how it is, because of my genes, because of my astrology, because of my numerology,
The victim mentality.
You're just powering the construct. You're powering the construct. I think we talked last time, and obviously I have some other materials as well where I talk very, very extensively about the astrology, numerology, which are the codes of the matrix, and probably this is what people might know me as well, because I'm one of those astrologers that got shunned by the community. And the second word, I think it has a little error.
Oh God, not again.
You can add the E, but yeah, everybody knows. So
I didn't know. MASTREY, mastery. Duh.
Yeah.
Right. MASTREY. Correct.
MASTERY.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, good God, I'm horrible. Now I'll point to this after. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, perfect. So there's absolutely the element of us continuing to cause our own misery. So you see, this is big chunk of my events to make sure that people understand. We really go down deep. We really go down deep into understanding exactly how does the matrix have hold on you. Where does it hold you? Because you see, it is not that simple as I'm just gonna I'm gonna stop working at a corporation and I'm out of the matrix. I'm sorry, you're not. So this is not exactly how that works. It goes much deeper, and the feminine line, the alchemy, which is our birthright. It's not just women. It is men. Obviously, alchemy is feminine. However, men are sort of included in the process. So this is all of us as humans. This is our heritage.
Thank goodness.
There are answers to this is not, we're not that smart in the 21st century. These are things that were well known to our grandmothers, great grandmothers, to the witches 500 years ago and 800 years ago, and to the wise women of the antiquity, whether that's the Mary Magdalena, Mother Mary, and all the other high priestesses trained in feminine alchemy in Egypt and other mystery schools. And going back tens of thousands of years, women are leaving artifacts, and men too, for us to discover that this has been wisdom that's been known forever.
So I think the first, I'm not sure if it was the first interview or second interview, but you said something and I just continue to steal it. And I'm going to take it until I die. Whatever it was, it resonated with me. And that is the role of sovereignty. And as you've talked about, you know, either unplugging or how they have control of us, it is to declare our sovereignty. Can you talk about that a little bit and why it is so important and why that is the crucial step in changing your life and getting out of the programs?
Well, I think that a big chunk of that process is our own responsibility and accountability. So that sovereignty doesn't start until you're accountable, until you are willing to look at yourself and to start taking the right steps. And the funny thing is that probably many people might have experienced that when you started to maybe become more aware of the construct, or maybe even started to go a different path and leave that rat race and leave the hamster wheel, a lot of things in your life started going worse. So that's the paradox, right? Like what's going on? I'm becoming more and more spiritual, so I should have control over all this, but my life is getting worse. Well, that's right, because now you are leaving the support mechanism, right? So that's one thing. And another thing, there is an element in Hermetic texts talk about it. There's an element of sort of randomness in throwing stones at people who are trying to leave the construct, trying to leave the matrix, starting to see a little bit through it, and starting to see through it. Go back to the movie Matrix, right? Starting to see through it requires you to start being fully aware of the programs that you still carry within yourself. What is it that you still believe? And the program, religion is a program, astrology is a program, numerology is a program, genes, and the fact that I have these or those health issues because of my genes, it runs in my family, this is karma, this is that. Karma is a program. All of that, any kind of deterministic scenario, it's a program. So unfortunately, until we come out of that victimhood, because there is a lot of victimhood, and that's why Morpheus in the Matrix says that most people are not ready to be unplugged. So that freedom doesn't start without accountability.
Yep, well said. Do you feel that we have, whether it's an aura, I don't want to put words in your mouth, those are my words. Do you feel that we have an informed field of knowledge that basically our discernment can fill us with a bubble of our sovereignty, of our own reality, that we're able to experience what we want when we declare our own sovereignty? Or do you feel like it's not that at all, it's something different?
So I think I would be a bit careful with the term itself, declaring sovereignty, because declaring sovereignty doesn't disconnect you automatically from all the programs. What disconnects you from all the programs is stopping to participate in the programs and stopping to follow the program and the conditioning, and stopping to sort of starting to see how it affects you and terminating that participation or that influence, rather than just a declaration, right, by itself. I would say that the good way to understand it is that if you sort of look into the legends or into fairy tales, in most fairy tales, regardless of geography, there's always this notion of people maybe going through a hole in a tree or a cave or some kind of magical place, or maybe a girl jumping into a well and being sort of transferred to this other reality, to this fairy tale land, and she goes through that land. It kind of looks like our world, but it's just totally different reality. And there is a lot of things that are possible there, and whatever the story is. The point being, this reality is the same reality. It's just that we are the ones wearing the glasses of illusion. So literally leaving the matrix is about putting those glasses down, and the act of putting the glasses down is equal to deprogramming yourself, to sort of not just deprogramming, because this is why I mentioned the journey to the moon. You see, in a lot of the indigenous cultures, and where I come from as well, it's pretty much a common knowledge to hide away from the moon. Do not be out there. Even here in Norway, the same. Do not be out there in the full moon, because the moon steals the soul. The moon stealing the soul is an echo of something deeper, because the moon, as you know, I mentioned that last time, the moon is part of that matrix control mechanism. So literally the moon is that last frontier, sending those frequencies, those sort of waves to us, which are programming, which are sort of controlling us. So the journey to the moon, the inner journey to the moon, is about going and recovering that aspect that has been stolen, so that you can, you see, this is why it's called alchemy. There is that element of sort of fairy tale, you might look at it like that, but look at the level of censorship these days, right? So we have to kind of create stories and fables around whatever message we want to sort of code, right? Well, that was the case with the fairy tales and with the mythology and with the legends. So there was also a bit of a censorship going on, and they had to come up with a way to be able to code certain truths, to be able to pass them forward. So that's what they've done. But here we are looking at them as just tales, whereas there's so much more. So absolutely, back to your question, in the real world, not the matrix world, when you take off the glasses, and the mythology tells us this, right? The mythology, ancient texts tell us that as well. There is a different world which is already here. Just take off the glasses. And what happens when you take off the glasses? Well, for example, Norse mythology says that at the sort of roots of the tree of life, we have the fates, which are called Norns. Here in the Norse mythology. So these are, well, three goddesses, three sisters, who are really one of them is responsible for weaving the web of life. The other one is responsible for the sort of creating aspect, and there is also that shaman and a witch, the one who can with abilities to see the future and prophecies, etc. So the interesting thing is that the sagas and the texts very clearly state that the gods, the Archons, were afraid. They were terrified of those. Why? Because those three, and I will tell you what they really are, those three had the ability to control the destiny and the fate of men, as in humankind, and gods. So ultimately, those were more powerful than the Archons, than this construct. And who are they? Well, the ladies that probably heard me speak before, or anybody who had any chance to listen to some previous storytelling from my end, you probably know that what I'm referring to, or the way to understand those three aspects, we're talking about three aspects, alchemical aspects of a woman. Woman as a maiden, creator, and a witch. What does that mean? It means that any woman who reconnects to that alchemy, which is nature for us, it should be nature. Any woman is a threat, is a danger to the gods, to the Archons. Now you have the answer why we have patriarchy and why women have been pushed down and sort of reduced to some, backstage role throughout millennia. And this is part of the program as well, because women have been put into that kind of victim role and not fully stripped of their power and the wisdom about the alchemy. And now in the last sort of 100 years, what happens? Well, the script has been flipped. So women have been coming back, waking up a little bit, trying to get their rights back. So the Matrix obviously ready for that kind of scenario and prepared the other side of the spectrum. So now women coming back from that victim mentality, that victim state and the victim role, are stepping into being masculine. Neither of those scenarios is where you find alchemy.
Yep. So you mentioned two things there I want to touch on. One was the moon. We'll get back to that in a second. But because you hinted on taking off the glasses and unplugging, how would the average person do this? First of all, they're watching this, so they're familiar with you and they're familiar with the teachings that you talk about.
Sure.
How do they unplug? How do they take the first step in taking the glasses off?
So the most important thing is what to stop doing. Okay. So like I say, the taking off the glasses, the act of taking off the glasses is the act of stopping to follow programs, stopping to follow conditioning. Well, first of all, you need to kind of see it where you have been caught in that net. So religions, any participation in religions, politics. I'm sorry, but this is a theater. So you have to kind of see this world for yourself, that the whole thing has been set up for you. Consumerism, materialism, right? The see it for what it is, money. The whole construct of money. We are, I don't really want to explain why and how, and this is not to say to everybody now, give up all the money, give up everything. No, but see it for what it is. Make it stop to, controlling you. It shouldn't control you. It shouldn't make you fear. And it shouldn't, any of those things, none of those things should make you fear. And as a result of that, make decisions, right? Because then you're caught in that matrix. And of course, other things, anything to do around not believing in yourself, all those illusions around low self-worth, lack of self-love, women who are, very often doing too much. A lot of people, we have that program of self-sacrifice, any level of sacrifice, and that goes for relationships, that goes for family sort of situation, that goes for work, that goes for friendships, anything. So whenever we are going against ourselves, whenever we are doing something against ourselves, there's a program behind it. There's an illusion behind it that's been sold to you. It's very, very easy to see in astrology, numerology, because when I have people on for readings, I tell them exactly, look, this is exactly where you have been caught by the matrix. Mm-hmm. And I list those things. Do you recognize those behaviors in your life? Of course they recognize those behaviors. So the point is, well, this is not a school. This is a new age nonsense. The earth is not a school. The earth is it was set up as a prison, or at least not from the beginning, but at some point when they arrived, they set up a prison here, and we are dealing with that at right now. Right now we are trying to sort of push through that, but until you see it, well, you cannot get out of it. So there is an element of that, and of course there will be this more alchemical elements as well. which is the journey to the moon, to literally that's that kind of more shamanic aspect, if you like, because there is an element of our soul being stolen, not all of it, but parts of the soul. This is why in shamanism we're talking about the fragmentation of the soul happening through trauma, through certain sort of negative experiences. But when you really track down back to the roots, why is that fragmentation happening through trauma? Well, you know that trauma is not a natural state of being. Trauma is set up as part of this matrix. So you are on purpose exposed to situations in order to be traumatized, because at that point your soul experiences fragmentation. So this is how they get access to that.
Trauma.
As long as you, exactly, not only trauma, but that's a big part of it, right? So as long as they have hold on that part of you, on our soul, I mean, age of Pisces, right? We've been caught in a net. So as long as they have hold on that part of us, you cannot escape the matrix through a mental function, because matrix is mental. Matrix is about the mental. We forget, we've been trained, especially in the last sort of 100 or 200 years, to really be in that intellectual aspect. It's all about IQ, it's all about that efficiency, it's all about that mind sort of processing power. That's how we've been groomed, and that's how we grew up. But we forget that what if I told you, and another thing on top of that, right, we've been told that to really everybody now wants to have psychic powers. Everybody wants to have psychic abilities. I can see aura, I can see whatever, some spirits, I can see past lives, I can see this and that. What if I told you that that's also a program? What if I told you that our highest and strongest, or maybe deepest power is the fact that we can feel? They can't feel. And by feel, I mean a lot of things, not like just love,
Touch.
But feel.
No, not just touch. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, of course, but not in a just like a love context, but in a context that we can feel. We have that ability to, for example, go into nature, and it's going to bring you a lot of emotional kind of feelings, I would like to say, right, of bliss and happiness, and all those higher sort of up the scale, right, all those positive feelings and reactions. What if I told you that this is the antidote? This is why they keep us in the lowest emotions: fear, misery, sickness, despair, depression, etc. They love that, and they will create scenarios, which is what they've done for millennia. It's just that the last few years we have been more vigilant because everything's been in our faces, right? So they've been creating scenarios to continue to cultivate that kind of emotional state.
Yep, and that's what I wanted to talk about. That is the most powerful part of our conversation, and the message is that we both believe in this exact role of sovereignty. What I meant by trauma is not that they hold us with that. They hold us with the trauma, but the attachment to trauma and letting that go, to forgive yourself for that feeling and realize that, okay, maybe I got tricked, but maybe I wanted to feel that. Maybe I'm here to experience that for a short time. But their sovereignty is in that role is realizing that you are experiencing what you want to experience and not what somebody's telling you to experience. So,
well, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I agree with that, because I do not subscribe to that notion that our souls have chosen bad experiences in this life. If the souls are part of, think about it, right? You probably have children, Ken. are you gonna tell me that you are, creating a really bad childhood for your children so that they can grow and evolve? I
Of
don't
course
think
not.
so.
Sure.
Exactly, as a loving parent, as a loving energy, right, who is giving life to a human being, you would want to create the most positive and optimal conditions, and that has been the case. That was the case for us. So the trauma and the negative experiences are not designed by a loving creative force or by a mother. These experiences are designed as part of this construct, as part of this matrix, in order to traumatize you, so that you spend the next 40 years trying to you know
Yes, but
even accept yourself,
I
right?
agree. I
To
agree, but
not
I think that
that's your power.
yeah, I think that the suffering part is a contending argument from both sides of love and light, and from the soul trap like theory of what's going on. And I think that it is completely misunderstood as far as the role in sovereignty. So I definitely believe, and I've seen through my own experience, and again, this is my experience, it can't be everyone else's the same exact way, but the role of suffering is one of attachment in the beginning to grow for me. And without that level of suffering that I have looked within, I would have been comfortable. I would have never grown to the level that I am now. And I don't mean that I'm some god or anything like that. What I mean by that is that I have personal sovereignty over what I want to experience. And without that level, which I want my sons to experience a role of difficulty to make them realize how powerful they are. That is a role of a creator. That is not a role of a victim, because life isn't perfect. And
Well,
what I
but
mean
you
by that is,
see, you're kind of you're polishing the bars from inside the prison. You are trying to make the best out of the situation that you're already in. And I am saying that the fact that we are in this situation is not natural. This is not an optimal growth scenario, even if you look at it like that, because once upon a time we had a golden age, and the growth was nothing compared to this scenario. So suffering does not facilitate growth. So it's in the sort of in the scenario of suffering, we are doing we are growing despite the suffering, not because of it. So the point being is that this matrix has not been created so that we can grow. This matrix has been created as a harvesting mechanism.
but
And people who are trapped in the matrix, because this is unfortunately that kind of psychological natural function, that we're trying to find nobility in suffering. We're trying to tell a good story around it, but there is no good story, because back in the golden age, before this mechanism was in full blow like it is now, golden age was golden age. Right now this is Kali Yuga. So in golden age there was much higher level of evolution, and people were able, or humans or other beings were able to experience the highest manifestation of their own potential and their own strength without being that catalytic effect of suffering, because it actually is not the most optimal sort of circumstance or a condition to foster that experience.
sure, and I understand where you're coming from, but polishing the bars means that you're a victim. So I don't believe that, and regardless of whether
No,
the
it
truth
doesn't
is
mean
that,
that you're a victim. I think that you're not, you're looking at it from inside the prison. I'm looking at it from outside of the prison, that that's where we are, and this is what people do.
right, but
They're
I
trying to
don't
do
consider
the
that I'm
best
in a
they
prison. Is
can.
my point. I guess my point is that I'm not considering that I'm in a prison. I'm not saying that this is a school necessarily. That's not my terminology. And again, I don't know anything. I'm just experiencing things. But what I'm saying is, with my sovereignty, is that I refuse to let whatever happens to me be a perspective of suffering in terms of that. Right. So I don't know that I'm in a prison. I don't know what this is, but I know that one thing happens when you determine how you want to feel and you experience it based on the factors that are external. Is that my field of in my informed field, or my aura, whatever, my energy level is going to be dictated by how I want to feel. And you can look at it that way from your perspective and say that I'm polishing my prison walls, but I don't believe I'm in a prison at all. So I believe that there are things going on that I cannot comprehend 100%. Is it a prison? Is it a trap? Are there archons? I guess, to me, it comes back to free will, right? So you could hijack that and say determinism and free will are two different ends of the spectrum. But for me, free will is your ability to go down the path of a suffering, or you can go along the path of non-suffering growth. And I think that those are two choices that everyone has in every decision. And so I don't believe that we can have free will and have love and light the entire time, like in a utopia of a creation. I don't think it's possible.
Why
because
not?
we could choose.
Why not?
Because someone, and I believe someone always chooses to go down the road of whatever that might be, capitalism, consumerism. They might get relief in watching someone suffer and them succeed. Like these are human emotions.
Yeah, but that's because that's the context that you have been exposed to in this life. You don't know any different. But who says that this is just this context in this life? There were different worlds. There are sort of and all that is well documented. So that's not our only possibility. I think that we have.
But that's the only possibility that we're sitting in now, though.
We see this.
But I'm saying that's the only possibility that we can possibly see now. I mean, what other possibilities can we can talk about escaping and unchaining and declaring our sovereignty or whatever that is, but we're still going to wake up tomorrow in the same situation that we're in today. The only difference, in my opinion,
that's the point. No, that's not right. Mm-hmm. That's not correct. No, it isn't. No, because then what's the point? Then what would be the point? Well, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I absolutely agree. If, going through motions, declaring something or doing something, if it doesn't change your life, if your life does not improve for the better, if you do not regain control over your life in a sense where, instead of continuing to struggle and overcome and mm-hmm. sort of transcend the suffering, well, then something's not working. Then perhaps this is just a mental exercise rather than a true path out of it. And that this is the wisdom that I've been sort of maybe not exploring, but this is exactly what's
and I agree that is the goal, that is your purpose, or that is your vision 100%. What I guess, to answer the question that you just asked, and maybe it was rhetorical, I don't know, but what has changed in my life, and the fact is I'm a happier person because I've taken control over my sovereignty of what I believe I want to experience. Now, I mean, we can go down that road a lot of different ways, but there are a lot of people that are suffering mentally, but a lot of that, in my opinion, is self-inflicted. I'm not saying that they choose it, but they choose to perceive it. So there's a lot of ways that makes sense to me, and how I have changed my personality to see messages or see the good things that go on. Yes, it's absolutely possible. You could be right. I could be polishing my prison cell, but I don't believe that I'm in that prison. I believe that I am a happier person and more emotionally stable today than I have been in the past, aside from 5, 6, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, where I was stuck in the rat race and I was trying to always win at everything and not take the time to enjoy what was in front of me. I think a lot of people want that perspective. That's what I believe. I'm not saying that I'm right, or again, I'm not trying to discount what you're saying. I just don't know how steps 1 through 5 we can not pay taxes. Like we can have a utopian life on Earth. Is there a way for us to have that?
You're coming at it again from a very mind-based perspective. You think that that it's about, I don't know, taking down the government, and we have to have a demonstration or whatever, and then we're gonna stop paying taxes, that this is done at this level, then I will play it back to you. Why are the elites doing rituals? Why things are done at the energy level and not at just the physical level? Because they already obviously have control of this world, right? I mean, if you know this context, right? So why they do rituals? What's the point of doing rituals if everything is happening only at the physical level? If everything is only physical, then what's the point of them having secret societies, having some kind of weird rituals, having some kind of weird meetings in which people get killed, and offerings are made, and all those kind of weird things are happening? Why? What happened on that energetic level? Well, a lot is happening on the energetic level. So and from that energetic level, only afterward it kind of precipitates onto the physical, and it literally kind of happens in the physical realm. So I cannot really kind of convince you to see that you are really seeing things from that very mind-based perspective. But you see, who says that the solution to dissolve it is at the physical level? It's not at the physical level, because they're not operating at the physical level. The physical level is the aftermath that we see. They are operating at an energetic level.
Okay, so how do we transmute the energetic level, I guess, is the best way for, because I'm talking to you, right?
About alchemy. Alchemy is not physical. If it was physical, it probably would be called chemistry. It's not chemistry, it's alchemy. So there is literally an energetic level of something that happens at a totally different totally in a totally different place, and that is to do with a woman, because of how we are constructed. So there are certain things that women used to be doing for a very long time, and all the way back to the thousands and tens of thousands of years. That wisdom has been scrapped entirely. It's been erased, and well, not entirely, because we still have obviously bits and dots that kind of managed to be somehow rescued. So here we are dealing with that. The alchemy is, well, it's I cannot explain it in one.
Is it a nature? Is it a nature? I don't even know what the term would be. Is it intuitive nature as far as being in nature? Is that why you've been going on? Is that dealing with your quest, or is it another way?
No, it's not about sort of intuition, because the alchemy is a process. So alchemy, if I was to explain what alchemy is, alchemy has to do with the way a woman specifically. Why? Because a woman has a portal. A woman is, we have the Holy Grail. This is where the Holy Grail is. This is it's not going to be dug out from anywhere. It's not been hidden anywhere. It is the Holy Grail. Is the womb. It is the womb of the woman. That's where the portal is. This is why a woman is able to bring a soul from another dimension into this reality, materialize it. So bringing some essence from totally different reality, different dimension into this plane. That's one of the alchemical aspects. So if a woman can do that, what else can she do? What else can she bring into this reality? So alchemy is a process. It is a result of a woman using, thanks to the fact that she is designed in a certain way. We are designed in a certain way, physically, energetically, spiritually, on that physical level, I'm talking hormones. So in sense of our hormonal and endocrinal system, we are designed in a very special way. We are designed specifically in a way to be able to birth not just children, because everybody thinks birthing children. No, so much more. Birthing meaning materializing. This is where alchemy comes in. So and you see, alchemy is not, this is not about some kind of herbal sort of thing going on. This is not about witchcraft. This is not about magic. It's called alchemy for a reason, because it relies on the fact that we are constructed in a certain way. It relies on presence of certain essences, secretions. Specifically, we're talking secretions in a woman's body, what woman is able to secrete, secretions. And that's where alchemy happens. So it requires for a woman to be in a certain state. That state is an emotional, it's a mixture of physical, emotional, spiritual states. But of course, you know, the physical is one thing. What Matrix has been very heavily going after and trying to block is the emotional state, because a woman needs to be fully in that kind of place of, you know, loving herself, choosing herself, accepting herself, and not being a victim, not sacrificing, not forgetting about herself and running, you know, like a headless chicken, taking care of everything else, not being masculine, not being in her mind too much, totally disconnected from her essence. So all these behaviors, which probably all of us as women recognize from our daily existence, are the tricks to pull us back from that place of alchemy. And Matrix has been very good at that over millennia. So really, we are getting, I don't want to sort of blame it on the Matrix, because it became our own doing. You know, women have been driven so far away from their element. And I am not, you know, this is not about feminism, because that's another psyop. And this is not about any of that. This is about reconnecting to the feminine essence. And I think that even when I say that, probably most people don't even know what I'm talking about, because that's how far away we have been driven from that awareness, from that wisdom. So when you sort of go back to the witches times, yeah, the 500 years ago, 800 years ago, the Cathars, the Bogomils, those societies where women had very high standing. Why? Because alchemy was recognized, because they continued to cultivate certain teachings and reverence, because they knew certain secrets. They knew certain secrets about the abilities, the powers of women. A power to do what? To literally birth, to materialize into reality certain energies. Okay? Please do not think that this is some kind of spirit possession. No, it's not. It's how we are built. A woman, in alchemy, we say a woman is a triple chalice. So a woman obviously has a chalice in this realm, that's the womb, but we are also connected to the womb of the earth and the cosmic womb. This is why in shamanism, or in every culture, in every belief of every culture, there is a notion of the tree of life. And there is always this triplicity of worlds: lower world, middle world, and upper world. A woman is mirroring that in her energetic construction. Yeah, absolutely. A woman mirrors that. So a woman is connected by design to something more, to something in the earth, the womb of the earth, and to a chalice, the cosmic chalice. What does that mean, cosmic chalice? The center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is another black hole, right? This is what we can, you know,
that's what we're told anyway. I mean, that's what we're told by the photos or the images, not the photos.
that's that is
the black hole in the Milky Way. I mean, we can't see the Milky Way with our eyes. We just have to go with what they tell us.
Well, we see the Milky Way, we just don't see the black hole. But you see that there is a thing. Why don't we see the black hole? We don't see the black hole because well, what we are told by the scientists, because it's of such density and it's such mass that it even sort of hijacks the light, right? Yeah, forget that. It's irrelevant if it's correct or not as a scientific explanation. In terms of alchemy, the reason why it's called a black hole, and why do the scientists also tell us that the whole universe is filled with something called dark matter, dark energy. Why is it called dark matter and dark energy? Because nobody can actually see it, but we are able to mathematically prove the existence of it, right? Why is it invisible? It's not invisible. It is not invisible. The problem is us. We have been caught into the visible light spectrum. And the visible light spectrum is very limited. We as humans, if you look at the entire bandwidth from the sound and across all the waves, right? The visible light spectrum is extremely narrow. And this is the very, very narrow bandwidth in which we are able to physically perceive things. Even animals have wider bandwidth. So it is not that you cannot see those things. It is that we are unable to perceive them, because we even, our vibration, especially here in this matrix, is just too low to be able to even perceive something like that. So, but that's even beyond the point. The point being is a woman connects to across those three kingdoms alchemically, across the three kingdoms. Less alchemically, she connects to the cosmic womb, she connects to the womb of the earth, and she herself owns a womb, obviously, and that connection enables naturally to be able to sort of bring in certain energies and materialize them in this realm through her womb. If we can materialize, give a child a soul, give it a body and materialize it into this world, we can do so much more. Does it mean physically? Not always. But energies, certain energies coming in, they are just like a potential. This is just a potential. So in order for that potential to really materialize, to kind of show up in this reality, that's the birthing process. Alchemically, that's the birthing process. So a woman births certain things, and this has been always the case. This is the reason why patriarchy was ushered in, to ensure that a woman is kicked out of her element. To be, women, because they had the ability to birth whatever, why? What are we birthing? We're birthing unlimited potential, because a woman is connecting to that dark matter, dark energy, that 0 point, yeah? Let's talk physics, 0 point in which everything exists. So she's able to bring in, this is what witches used to do, that's why they were dangerous. She's able to bring in into this reality and materialize certain energies into the highest version of, instead of fear and misery and whatever, she can bring in abundance, she can bring health, she can bring totally different reality that dissolves those emotions. And let's do physics, right? When you have two different vibrations, something vibrating very, very in a very low vibrational state and something in a very high vibrational state, what's going to happen? This thing is going to have to start vibrating higher as well. So the high vibrational influx, that higher vibrational wave is transforming the lower. That's the physical engineering explanation of alchemy. What happens and what are they afraid of? These archons, these entities, because look at this world. This world, how many of us want to have a bad life? How many of us want to have traumas and bad experiences? Nobody. So why is this world like this? Because there is an invisible hand above it that orchestrates certain things. And in order for that invisible hand to be there, things need to be kept at a certain vibrational level. David Icke talks about it as well. So, and that vibrational level is very low. This is why it's all, fear, war, death, illness, etc., misery, right? So when you start bringing in higher vibrational energies, the fabric of this reality, the glasses, literally, this whole notion of wearing glasses and this construct dissolves. That's always been the case. And you might be thinking, well, hold on a minute, but then, why didn't they just do it 2,000 years ago then? Why didn't those women do that back then? Or the witches throughout all these centuries, right? Well, yeah, they were working with this energy. This is why they ended up burned at the stakes. Yes, that's exactly that's why. But
that's the wrong kind of alchemy. They burned them. They did the bad alchemy.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, they burned them. They burned their bodies, so they alchemically changed into all of energy.
But I mean, why were they burned, right? Why did the Matrix? Why did the church? Obviously, Matrix, clothed in the church representatives, right? Why were they burned? Why? What was so wrong with them? What was it that they were doing? Well, they were directly dangerous. They were threatening to the Matrix because they were causing this whole mechanism to dissolve. So that could not hold, right? However, the difference to the current times is, and this is what I mentioned at the beginning, that we are living in the end times. Apocalypse confirms that. Ragnarok, right? If you look into the meaning, what does it mean? Apocalypse is talking about a great sign in the sky showing up, and there's a whole context, celestial context to it. That specific event happened at the spring equinox 2017. It already happened. Vatican confirmed it. So the apocalypse is in apocalypse is running, right? Is it just the apocalypse? No, it isn't. You have the prophecies of the indigenous people who are very clearly the hope you've been saying since the late 90s that it's coming, and it's gonna happen. It's every indigenous cultures has the same message for the current times. And on top of that, well, let's look into the Norse mythology, Ragnarok. What is Ragnarok? Ragnarok is the doom, the fall of the gods, of the world of the gods. Okay, how does it start? Well, it starts with the serpent, which is holding this world together, Uroboros, holding it, right? That's the serpent biting its own tail. When that serpent bites through the tail and lets go, that's the beginning of Ragnarok. What does that mean? What is the serpent holding the world? Because this is not a fairy tale. This is a story. This is a story with meaning. The serpent holding its own tail, the wheel of samsara, the reincarnation trap, the zodiac. So Ragnarok says that when this wheel of samsara breaks, when something happens that this mechanism stops working, the zodiac stops working, that's the signal, that's the domino effect. This is then we are entering into Ragnarok. Has that happened? Yes, it has.
How long do you think we have?
That's the 2017. That's the 2017. So that's already started. Now, so how long do we have? Well, I am very interested, or I wouldn't say very interested, because this is not for being interested. This is now for women to really reconnect to that. there is a prophecy from 1209 when during the massacre of Béziers, so we're talking the Cathars, during that massacre, 20,000 of civilians, Cathars, everybody, were sentenced to be killed, to be burnt. And when one of the women, one of the sort of, I don't want to even call her priestesses, it's Esclaramont, it's more of a title than a name. When she was being taken, as the legend says, when she was taken to the stake, she said that in 808 years, the spirit of the Cathars will return. So when you do the quick math, 1209 plus 808, guess the year, 2017. And then she also added that the 8 years following that will be crucial. They will decide what happens. So 2017 all the way until end of 2025, because 2017 it happened at the fall equinox. So we are in September, end of September 2017, up until the end of 2025. We're in the beginning of 2024.
So anything, one of two possibilities will happen, correct? Either the matrix will break, or or it will stop, and will be. What are the two options?
Well, the options are, the indigenous people. The prophecy of the Hopi talks obviously of sort of two paths. That it either goes to golden age, or it goes to
Singularity. We'll call
it goes to shit. Let's put it this way, right?
One road.
That's
one road to
scientifically speaking. So I wouldn't say that necessarily we are going to literally living in a golden age in 2026. However, the 8 years are crucial, and I already see these 8 years playing out very, very heavily. There are certain things, there's so much more to the apocalypse. It talks about the woman going to the desert, which is very symbolic. It's deeply alchemical, and that's already happened. It talks about the woman being able to give birth again. That's already happened, 2021. So amazing sort of milestones that were hit. So things are really happening. And even if you think about it, I think it was 2021 when we were just around a year into this whole psyop, right, with COVID, and I think it felt like we were literally on the brink of the digital vax passports. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know what was your experience in America, but us in Europe, suddenly overnight, literally, that was, I think, end of February, suddenly out of nowhere, it started with the UK. The UK just stopped all the restrictions overnight. It stopped everything. And then it was a domino effect across Europe. I think that you guys in America, you were sort of slightly delayed in that process, and probably in some parts it just for political reasons, it just never even happened that year, or maybe in the later years. However, there was clearly some kind of step backwards taken. And the question is why? They're not going to come on the news and say, you know what, some witches were, were sort of working their magic and we were not able to push through with our plans. They're not going to say that, but they had us pretty much, they had us at home. They had us by the throat. They were heavily pumping the vaccination propaganda. And suddenly here we are back to so-called freedom, right? Back to the scenario from before. Why? What happened? So there are certain things that I think are happening, in the background or sort of behind the scenes. Another part of it is you gotta ask yourself, what does it mean what does it mean for matrix to be really out of the matrix? How would that look like? And this is where the problem starts, because a lot of people think that suddenly we will wake up and everything will look different. Whereas there's something, the feminine line never says that there's going to be like global awakening. It never promised that. It says that it's always an individual process. And when you can sort of step outside of the mind, you are causing this mechanism, which, by the way, is unplugged since 2017. It's us that are adding energy to it. When you step outside of it, you're really causing, some kind of error in the functioning of it. And of course, there is so much more that is being done by the alchemical women, by the women, and by that I mean there are still women, sort of tucked away, hidden, doing their thing, doing whatever they've always been doing, reconnecting, and following the cycles through the year, aware of certain sort of powers and abilities, and that kind of element of bringing in those energies and in sort of causing that influx into this reality that is absolutely ongoing.
Well, hopefully it's going to end soon. I think it has to end in stages now. I think you're correct in my perception is that it's never going to end like day one, and then yesterday was horrible, and today, hey, the gates have now opened. I think the first step has to actually be big pharma has to go down, and I think there has to be a lot of trials and historical context in how our bodies operate. And I think to answer your question, in America, the natural immunity reports really started to, it was twofold. The natural immunity was really what the reports that came out about natural immunity, I'm not sure where they came out of, but they started circulating. And the second thing was when you got a, whatever they were giving, I'm not going to say, I don't want to get censored, but whatever they were giving people and they were taking, they were still multiple researches, reports, and got flurried online about the transmission. And once they said that it was still transmittable and that was proven, then it was natural immunity is not transmittable and one of them is. So between those two things, the transmission, even though you had it, and then the second part was the natural immunity, those two things hit and then it was over. I mean, the state that I was living in was Florida. The restrictions started in March-ish in Florida, and they lasted about 2 months. By the end of June, we were back open again in Florida of 2020. So, before the thing was even given out. Certain states like California, New York, and what we call them, those are the Democrat states, the ones that want to hold the power over the people. They stayed locked down for like another year, over a year, in the middle of 2021. Some of them in certain aspects of how that worked. So it's not going to happen overnight. I think, like you said, to me, it has to happen where we recognize how powerful our bodies are and how they can have immunity to these things. And no matter what has happened throughout the history of man, we've sort of genetically handed down immunization. Whether, through natural immunity. So I think that's the first step. It has to happen. We have to see how powerful we are as people. And then the other things will just come down. I think the knowledge will come out. How that happens, I don't know. But that's my take on what happened here in America. It was a two-party fight for control. And I don't know why it was released or how it was released, because I've seen numerous things that were like in the very beginning of it in like 2020 in February, March. I saw many YouTube things that were from doctors and from research facilities that were actually stating what was actually known now to be a fact. And so, that's where we are with our information. Hopefully it's not going in the wrong direction where next time they didn't just regroup it and it'll be censored more. I think the freedom of information will hopefully overcome with the truth.
Yeah, but I think that again, the feminine teachings would have always said to that, we know that this is all fake. We know that this is all theater. So why even sort of, why even put energy into like looking and believing that, right now, right? It's January, and a few days ago, my mom contacts me and she says, oh my God, how are you surviving there? It's minus 30 degrees. We're being told it's minus 30 degrees up there. It's -2. It's -2. So there's a lot of like misinformation being pumped, and people jump on it, and people sort of believe the psyops, and then people want to pursue the proof to demonstrate that was just a lie and that was just a psyop. But I think the bottom line is, disinformation, misinformation is their weapon. Why to even be involved in that? Like a rule of thumb is whatever comes out of the TV, whatever comes out of the government mouth, you should do the opposite, and you should just not listen, right? So I think that this is part of the lesson of the last 3-4 years should have been also to us by now to stop engaging in any of this on any level, including, this is game of the mind. This is game of the mind. We need to have the answers. We need to have the proof. We already have the proof. We already know. We already knew from the beginning, right? So again, Matrix is trying to keep us engaged with its own affairs. The more we continue to be involved with the Matrix affairs, we are supplying the energy for the construct.
I think that's well said. Ola, I want to be respectful of your time, but also I have to run. I have to get into my Matrix again, and I have to go. I have to run. I have to be somewhere to show some classes for tomorrow morning, and I'm a few minutes late already. But there's tons of history that I wanted to get through that we didn't get any through it. So I'm sorry about that. I apologize. We'll see if we can reschedule a time to talk about Saturn and the underworld. With people had questions about reincarnation and what happens when we die. Those are questions that have to just unfortunately have to wait for another a few. But I got you off topic, I think was what happened. I told you I wasn't going to say anything, and then I did. So I opened my big mouth, and we could talk for probably 3 or 4 hours straight easily and still not get through it. So
I'm very happy to come back.
I appreciate that. So I will email you this week part 1. I'll clip it up. And then we'll do part 2 whenever you're free. And we will stick to the script. I'll let you go wherever you want, but I'll stick to my script, I guess is the best way for me to put it. But anyway, thank you so much for coming back. Guys, you can find Ola at Self Mastery. I spelled it correctly this time.
Absolutely.
Quest, and it is back up and running, correct? You're good?
Absolutely right. Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'm on a delay with my mannerism. So, but thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to add or to say before we cut it off for today?
Not to keep anybody. Thank you so much for being with us, and I am looking forward. I've seen the questions, so they're really, really exciting, and I would absolutely love to get into all that content. Having said that, we kind of detoured maybe on some topics today. I think it was important. I think it was important to cover that and to sort of bring that perspective, because sometimes I think I hop over things and then I kind of lose people behind. So yeah, probably also created some more questions, but let's give it a go next time.
Yes, thank you so much. I will I will email you in a few days. I'm going to post this probably tomorrow when I can get back to edit it a little bit. And then if any questions pop up in the next 3 or 4 days, guys, if you're watching this immediately, put the questions below in the video, and then we can address them in the next section too.
Excellent.
So that'll be very good. Ola, thank you again. I appreciate it. Have an amazing night. I know it's night there. And we will talk soon. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.